Hello, friends. Welcome to another Life School Teachings with JOEL Kayode. Please feel welcome. And today's teaching was tailored to provide solution to another human's deficiency for which there is need for capacity development to deal with. So today's teaching I have entitled People's Pleasing Syndrome. People's Pleasing Syndrome. So let's discuss about this deficiency in human persons, and let's find out the likely solution to this problem. So at the end of this teaching, you must have learned how to embrace your own uniqueness, how to live life on your own terms, and how to be more assertive in life. So let's kick the ball rolling. And to start with, what is a syndrome? Let's start from there. What is a syndrome? A syndrome within the context of this teaching is the characteristic pattern of behavior that is tend to occur under certain circumstances. That is, when you are subjected to certain circumstances over and over again. These are the character of behavior you will display. That's what syndrome simply means. So therefore, when I'm talking about people's pleasing syndrome, it simply means the characteristic pattern of behavior in a certain individuals that is tend towards pleasing other people. That's what I'm saying. It is seeking other people's approval to feel good about yourself. That's it in a simplest form. It is you seeking other people. So when I'm talking about people's pleasing syndrome, I'm talking about people who seek other people's approval to feel good about themselves. These people with this syndrome can simply be referred to as people's pleaser. These are the people who only act or be inactive, all in ruse to please others. These people care so much about what other people think about them, and they are ready to endure so much difficulties and even go extra miles just to please other people, even at their own detriment. Now, with all this, I believe you are getting the description of what I meant by people's pleasing syndrome. So I said, these are the people that suffer from people's pleasing syndrome are people who so much care about what others think about them, the way they dress, the way they talk, their actions or inactions were all tailored to please others. That's why I said they can otherwise be referred to as people's pleaser. And there is a certain character in the scripture that I would like to use to buttress my point even more clearer. So let's discuss that. At a certain time in history, Israelites revolted against Judges' system of governance, and they demanded for a king, just like other nations. Their request was so touchy to Prophet Samuel that he took their report to God in prayer. But God told Samuel to grant them their wish. Therefore, the first king was enthroned in person of King Saul. After King Saul's enthronement, the Philistines at a time lined out against Israelites for battle. But before proceeding to the battlefield, Samuel instructed King Saul to wait at a specific place for 7 days so he could get divine direction on how to prosecute the battle successfully. And then afterward, they could make sacrifice to God. King Saul and the soldiers with him truly waited for 7 days according to Samuel's instruction. But just a little delay by Samuel before his arrival on the 7th day proved the true character of King Saul. The soldiers with him were actually getting tired of waiting for Samuel, and some of them started leaving. But instead of King Saul to issue a command as the king to get them back into the camp, He would rather defy the divine instruction given to him so as to please the people. Therefore, he overstepped the jurisdiction of his office by decided to carry out the sacrifice, which was actually meant to be performed by the prophet. And immediately he was done with that sacrifice. Then Samuel arrived and challenged King Saul of foolishness, why he would defy the divine instruction given to him. But King Saul's response is what adds the relativity to our subject of discussion. When he responded, he said, I made the sacrifice because the soldiers with me were getting wearied of waiting, and some of them had started leaving. So I decided to help the situation so everybody won't go and leave me all alone. And that aroused Prophet Samuel's anger, who told him that so you consider it right to please the people and despise the divine instruction? So on another occasion, there would have been a second chance for King Saul to salvage his reputation. But you remember, just as we are first and foremost responsible to develop our character, then after our character becomes automatic and runs our habits. And such was the experience of King Saul in these second circumstances. He became a victim of his people's pleasing character. The instruction was that King Saul should go to the country known as Amalek, and he should kill both the living animals and destroy every other thing. But on getting to the Amalek, the battle was going just as Prophet Samuel had prophesied. King Saul and his soldiers were having upper hands at the battle against the Amalekite. They killed every other beings according to instruction, but they spared the king and some other robust sheep and good valuables. So on getting back to the country, Samuel, by the virtue of divine ability, knew everything that happened and chided King Saul for his disobedience. But King Saul's response proved him as people's pleaser when he said, the soldiers with me spared some valuable and animals to use as sacrifice. So King Saul decided to please the people against the divine instruction given to him. And as I said earlier, his people's pleasing syndrome cost him his royal dynasty in Israel. That's how he lost his royal dynasty. So now, back to you, my friend. I have just painted the instance of how King Saul lost his royal dynasty due to people's pleasing syndrome. And with this story, I believe now you have a better understanding of what I'm actually talking about. To simplify it better, in local parlance, people's pleasing syndrome simply means what will people say mentality. It is you prioritizing other people's opinion, their liking of you, and their approval over your peace, your happiness, and your success. So now, if I'm to put it directly to you, why are you still at that white-collar job? Despite you are not finding fulfillment financially or otherwise, but being people's pleaser, you are preoccupied with the thought of what will people say if you are to jump out of your 9-to-5 rat race to start a small enterprise, but with huge future prospects, only if you will be diligent, just as you are at your job. But that people's pleasing syndrome has held you bound into that job where you are struggling, despite all your natural abilities, pointing to the fact that you will do so much better if you are to go for the business of your talents or to start out an enterprise. The same people's pleasing syndrome is the fact why a spouse keeps staying in abusive relationship, most especially women. Record has it that a minimum of 4,000 women died worldwide as a result of domestic violence per year. And one major reason I've discovered why people stayed in abusive relationship is the same people's pleasing syndrome factor, either to protect their ego, their family name, or to stay relevant in an organization or religious affiliate, even at their own detriment at times. So do you know that all in ruse to be in other people's good judgment and to be like is the fact behind some people's financial crisis, where they have to spend all and above what they earned so they could meet up with other people's need. This set of people has forgotten that unplanned finance will also lead them into financial crisis. People's pleasing syndrome is such a pathetic way of living. So with better understanding of what I actually meant by people's pleasing wisdom, people's pleasing syndrome, and its effect over your life, I just talked about the effect on your finance, on your marriage or relationship, why you have to endure in abusive relationship. I also talk about you being at that job where you are not finding fulfillment, either financially or career-wise. But people's pleasing syndrome has held you bound into where you are not finding fulfillment. So now, with better understanding of what I meant, so how can you jettison people's pleasing syndrome and get more assertive and live life at your own time? To achieve this, I have these 4 points to share with you. Number one way of jettisoning people's pleasing syndrome is by developing positive thought pattern. That's number one. You developing positive thought pattern. Remember, your life will always journey in the direction of your dominant thought. Therefore, there is need for you to discover what do you want or what is your desire at a particular point in time. What is that thing you want to take action on, for which you might need other people's approval either to do it or not. The moment you discover what your desire is, then you have to open up your mind to right information, such as by reading right book along that journey, attend a seminar, or even acquire a course. All these will help you develop right thought pattern. The moment you have right thought pattern in place, then you will actually take right actions. And the moment you are taking right action and you are satisfied with the action you are taking, then there's no need for you to wait for other people's approval to feel good about yourself or your actions. So the number one way of jettisoning people's pleasing syndrome is by developing right thought pattern. Number two is by developing right personal philosophy to live with. Say number two way to jettison people's pleasing syndrome is to develop right personal philosophy to live with. Philosophy are product of your belief, and your belief are product of the information you have exposed your mind to. So therefore, like I said at the first point, if you have the moment you discover your desire or your purpose for living, then you should develop your philosophy of life along that line. The moment you've developed right philosophy to live with, then you will not need other people's approval to feel good about your actions. So the number two way is to define what your life philosophy is. And when I'm talking about philosophy, I'm talking about your attitude towards life. You must develop your own personal attitude with which you want to live your life. Do you want to be trustworthy? Do you want to be a person of integrity? Do you want to be honest? These are philosophy that you have to be personal with your own. And under no circumstances should you bend your philosophy or compromise them. And by that, you will be able to jettison people's pleasing syndrome. Number 3 is to embrace your own uniqueness. Embrace your own uniqueness. Remember, the Creator made each and every one of us differently. You are not here to be a photocopy of any other person. The Creator has a game plan in place why He made you the way you are. Therefore, if you will embrace your uniqueness, then you will know that there is no need for you to actually behave or live in the exact manner that another person has lived, because you are different. You are unique. By the time you embrace your uniqueness and develop self-love, you like yourself for the way you are, then you will not need to wait for others or to act or not act or be inactive just to please others, because you will know that you are unique and your path of life is special to you. So the number 3 way is to embrace your uniqueness. The number 4 point, which I said I'm sharing with you on how to jettison people's pleasing syndrome, is to develop your willpower. Develop your willpower. And what do I mean by this? Remember, the more productive and creative you become, the more you will feel pleased about yourself. When you feel, the more you act and being productive, the more you will discover so much more you can do. And the more you are producing better results, the more you will like yourself for who you are. That is why you have to develop your willpower. You have to be more proactive with your willpower. The more results you are achieving, the more you will like yourself for whom you are. And when you like yourself, then you will not be waiting for other people's pleasing, approval of you or approval of you. So, dear friend, it is time to develop self-love. It is time to know that you are different. It is time for you to develop personal philosophy with which to live your life. It is time to develop right thought pattern so you can feel good about yourself without waiting for other people's approval. Always remember, you are unique. You are uniquely and wonderfully made. You are here on your personal assignment. Though you may learn from others, but you don't need to necessarily become them. So, it's time to embrace self-love. Love yourself for whom you are. Develop right thought pattern. Develop personal philosophy to live with. Embrace your uniqueness. And with all this, you won't need to wait for other people's approval to feel good about yourself. So, dear friend, it's time to be more assertive and live life on your own time. And that is the wisdom I've come to share again with you today. And if you will watch this teaching over and over again, you will gain insight in details of what I'm actually talking about. So till I come your way again, same time, same channel, I say, cheers to your success. And lest I forget, don't forget to subscribe for more life transformational content. Till we see again, cheers to your success.